See, most people think peace is simply an emotion. They believe peace only exists when life is calm. But biblically, peace is much deeper than an emotion. Peace is often communication. See, God doesn't always shout. Sometimes he whispers through peace. John 14 and 27 says, Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world gives, I give unto you. See, Jesus wasn't simply promising comfort. He was giving his followers something that they could live by. Because peace isn't just something God gives, peace is one of the ways that God guides. Now think about your vehicle. Most of us don't pay any attention to the dashboard until the lights come on. And when the check engine light comes on, the car ain't trying to scare you, it's trying to save you. When the gas light comes on, your vehicle ain't criticizing you, it's warning you. And if you ignore it long enough, eventually you'll stop. Sometimes God works the same way. Sometimes he allows peace to be a distraction for the dashboard of our soul. One thing about peace is that peace confirms. One of the greatest ways that God leads his people is through peace. Now notice something. God don't always explain everything before he tells you to move. We like details. We like blueprints. We like one step at a time. Step 2, step 3. Then maybe we'll obey. But that's not usually how faith works. Faith often walks before it understands. Think about Noah. Can you imagine building an ark before anyone ever seen rain? Man, people laughed at him, they mocked him, they probably even thought he lost his mind. But yet Noah kept building. Why? Because somewhere he had peace. Abraham was the same way. God told him to leave his family, his country, and everything familiar. And God was going to show him where he was going. Noah didn't have a GPS. He was living by a promise. Abraham walked because he had peace. Joshua marched around the walls that had never fallen. No strategy, no battering ram, obedience, because peace had already confirmed what victory would later reveal. Can I tell you something? Sometimes God confirms direction long before he explains direction. If you've been waiting for just an answer, you may be waiting longer than necessary. Because sometimes peace is saying, just keep walking. I'm already standing where I'm sending you. But here's where discernment becomes important. Because peace doesn't only confirm, sometimes it disappears. And that's just as important. The second thing about peace is that peace can warn you. And that's probably one of the biggest things that we ignore the most. Sometimes everything looks right, it feels right, the relationship checks out, the job pays more money, the business opportunity looks amazing. Everybody else says, man, you'd be crazy not to do it. But something inside you won't settle. You toss and turn at night, you keep praying, but unrest won't leave. Now, hear me carefully. A lack of peace doesn't automatically mean God is saying no. Sometimes it's simply an invitation to slow down, to pray longer, to ask better questions. Sometimes we're in such a hurry to open the door that we forget to ask who opened it. The enemy has open doors too. Not every opportunity is an assignment, and not every open door came from God. Some doors lead to distractions, some lead to detours, some lead to unnecessary pain. Years later, people often say, man, I knew something wasn't right. And that's what they usually say after the damage. God had already been speaking, but they ignored the dashboard. How many regrets could we avoid if we learn to stop when peace leaves? Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 3 says, Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Peace grows where our minds stay connected to God. The more we walk with him, the more sensitive we become. Now here's the beautiful part. Peace doesn't only help us make decisions. Peace also helps us survive difficult seasons. That's the third thing I want to talk about. Peace sustains. Sometimes we think storms will never come. That's not biblical peace. Biblical peace isn't the absence of storms, it's the presence of God. Inside the storm, think about Jesus, how the disciples were terrified and the wind was violent, the waves were crashing, and experienced fishermen thought they were about to die. And where was Jesus? Sleeping. Can you imagine that? Man, the boat's rocking and water's coming in, people are panicking, and Jesus is asleep. Why? Because peace isn't determined by weather. Peace is determined by who's in the boat. And sometimes God doesn't calm the storm immediately. Sometimes he'll calm you. Sometimes the miracle ain't that the storm stopped. The miracle is that you didn't fall apart when it raged. Have you ever looked back over your life and wondered, man, how did I make it through that? The answer wasn't your strength. It was his peace. Peace became your strength. Peace became your anchor. Peace carried you until the storm finally passed. And yeah, the storm was real, the waves were real, but Jesus was greater. And because he was present, peace was available.